Hello YouTube. Let's see if we can rebuild one of these uh, smog carbs on the Phatmoto. This is the Huey Chinese carb. This is the smog carb. It has no air fuel mixture screw. So probably one of the first things to do before you even take it off of the engine is right here is your bowl drain. Get you like a plastic soda container cut to catch this gas that comes out of the bowl, because you're going to want to check and see if there's any water in it. Once you capture it in that plastic soda bottle, you'll be able to see if there's any little goblets of water in there. So what we're going to do, what you do is loosen up that drain and capture that fuel that's going to come out of there. All right. Now, once you get the carb off of the engine, this one here on the throttle, there's a spring missing, because I took it off of this carb and put it on my replacement that I put on my engine. So when you go wide open throttle and you let off, it springs back. Anyway, 10 millimeter. Take the bowl off. I hope this is showing up in the video. It's a bigger screw than your drain. It's fatter. Okay, take your bowl off. Now normally, if you run ethanol fuel, or you don't run a fuel filter, or whatever, a lot of times this bowl will be full of crud, varnish, crud, gunk. You'd want to get your carb cleaner and get it cleaned out, get it good and clean. All right, next thing you want to do, oh look, is remove this float. So you'll take this little pin out. There it is. You pull the pin, and when you pop this float up, the needle and seat will come with it. See there? So you want to inspect it, make sure there's no gunk, debris on that. And what you can do is take a Q-tip, spray some carb cleaner on there, and take a Q-tip and use it to clean off the seat. Make sure it's nice and clean. No accumulation of gunk or dirt. Now this carb is really clean. I ran nothing but ethanol fuel in it, so I shouldn't have too much of a problem. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is inside of here is a jet, your main jet. Now you're going to need a screwdriver that will fit down in there. A lot of screwdrivers have a fat blade and they won't fit down in there. One of these cheap 4-way screwdrivers, this usually works. So you go down in there, get it in there, and unthread that jet. And it takes quite a bit of threading. You can also take that off, do it by hand once you got it loose. Okay, next thing is pop that jet out. Okay, now here's the jet, came right out. Also, this emulsion tube or main nozzle came out. Sometimes it'll be stuck in there. And if you look through the body of the carburetor, you can see it sticking out. Well, if it won't come out on its own, take your screwdriver, reach in there and just give it a press. Push on it. And that emulsion tube should come out. Okay, what you got to do with these is your main jet. You'll spray carburetor cleaner. Make sure it's clear. This is a wire tie. You know, it comes on, holds cables together or bread or what have you. And it's the right size or it'll go through and clean out this jet. Put that through there. Make sure that that jet is clear. Now, a lot of times, one of these magnifying glasses helps. Because with this magnifying glass, I can look through there and I can see light. I can see it's clear and clean. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is this emulsion tube. Now, this has got a hole all the way through it. And it's got a hole up here. And then it has 2 holes on the side, 2 holes on that side, and 6 holes on each side of there. Now all those little tiny holes must be clear. So you'd spray it with carburetor cleaner and let it soak. Loosen up any of the junk. And this wire tie will clean out most of it. There. You can see it goes all the way through. Okay, the hole at the top. It goes through, it's clear. Okay, now these holes are much tinier. This wire is almost too big, but not quite. It will go through. And you can actually look down in there and see that it's penetrated to the middle of that, and that side is clear. Now, it doesn't want to go through because it's got to be perfectly lined up. But if you can verify that each one is clear. Same thing with this magnifying glass. You can look at it in the light and you can see that each and every one of them is clear. Each one must be clear or your carb won't work right. Now, I took one of these little brass bristles off of this brush. And I've got it right here. I can barely see it. There it is. But I can pick it up with these needle nose pliers. Maybe. Maybe. There it is. Okay, get those needle nose pliers. I don't know if that camera's going to focus on that or not. But there it is. And it will actually fit through here. It's so tiny. I can get the hole. Yeah. There. Anyway, it fits through these little tiny holes in the emulsion tube. And they must be clear. Yeah, you can see it went all the way through. Okay. Now we'll go to this carb body. You want to take off this idle screw. It sets your idle and it holds down the pilot jet. Unthread it. All right. Now you want to pop up this pilot jet right here. Lift it up and out of there. Okay. This thing's got a big hole in the side. Then it's got a tiny hole right down in there. I mean, it is tiny. And if it's plugged up, your bike, it might run on full choke, but as soon as you take it off the choke, it won't idle, it'll die. Sometimes it won't even run, it won't even start. But anyway, take that same little itty bitty tiny brass thread and put your carb cleaner, soak it, and put it through there. And make sure that hole, there it is. I don't know if that camera will show it or not, but there it is. If you can see the wire into that big hole, it's clear. And it must be clear. All right. So then you'll take your body and where the needle seat goes, you can take and put some carb cleaner on there. And take one of these Q-tips, stick it down in there, and twist it and clean that seat off if there's any gunk down in there. This carb is clean, but if it was dirty, there'd be black gunk on there. Okay. Now you take your carb cleaner and make sure all of these passages are clear. Make sure the main nozzle is clear. Make sure these passages are clear. Same thing on this side. And where that pilot jet goes, right down in there. Spray that and make sure that that's flushed out. Oh, hey, there's a mistake I made too. Make sure you take your rubber gasket off and don't get any of that carb cleaner on there. Because what it does is it swells it up. Then it won't seat right. And then you have a bowl leak. That's a mistake. Make sure you take that turkey off. And don't get the carb cleaner on there. Okay, once you've got all these passages cleaned out, and you know they're clean and clear, or you can even turn your gas on and do this. Make sure this is clear. Now, if you've got a compressor and a little handheld blowgun, you can blow everything out. If you don't have that, maybe get one of these electronic dusters. Now watch your eyes. Don't get this stuff in your eyes because it'll burn. you can verify that all these holes are clear. See, that's where the needle seat goes, and it came back out the inlet. There's your main nozzle. Okay, it's ready to go back together. Take your pilot jet. Now that hole there must line up with that hole where it goes down in. There's a hole right there. Right there. So that hole must line up with that hole when it goes in. So you can drop that in. And it'd be about like that. And make sure that gets seated all the way down in there. All right. And that's lined up. Put your idle screw back in. Tighten it up just enough to hold that pilot jet in. That's all you got to do. There, you see it's holding that pilot jet in. Okay, next thing you do is this emulsion tube. Once it's clean and clear, drop it down in. Take your jet, drop it down in. Take your screwdriver, tighten that jet up. Okay. Now you want this good and snug, but don't over tighten it because you don't want to strip it. It needs to be tight, but just use a little common sense and that's good. That's tight. It's not going to come out. It's sealed. It's solid. Okay, next thing we're going to do is put our float back in with our needle. Slide it over the main and drop the needle down in there. Okay, now you got to get your pin. And get it through there. There it is there. All right, the next thing you do is put your rubber seal on for your float bowl. Now, like I said, don't be like I did and leave it on there and get carburetor cleaner on there because it swells it up. Now make sure it's sitting right to where it's not going to, it's going to seal proper. And put your bowl back on. With the fat screw that holds the bowl on. $10mm. All right. Now your drain plug. And it should be ready to go back on. And it should work. If any of those little tiny holes in that emulsion tube, that main nozzle, it won't run right. If any of these passages, it's got debris or plugged up, it won't run right. But as long as everything is clean and clear and good, and you know it is, should start up and run. And that's it. So I will talk to you later.